and welcome to the Ended Up in Vegas podcast. I'm Nikki.
I'm Megan.
Today we're talking to female entrepreneur. She was a news anchor for many years, now business owner, Christine Maddela. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Tell us how you ended up in Vegas.
I came for work. Like so many people end up in Vegas, you don't really think of it as a place to live until there's an opportunity there. So I was a news anchor for many, many years. I was in Philadelphia. I was at the NBC station in Philadelphia when a station here in town came calling and asked me to come be the evening news anchor. And that's how I ended up in Vegas.
And that's how we met each other. And so now you own your own business. Tell us about it.
Yes, Storyville Road. We're a full-service video production company, media coaching company. And so I took my years of experience and expertise from the news industry, from storytelling and journalism, and now I put that to work for my clients.
Love that. Yeah. So I met Christine when you first interviewed here in Las Vegas, and she became my news anchor at Fox 5. So how did being in the news for so many years prepare you for owning a business?
Well, I think people don't realize how prepared journalists are to tackle so many different industries and topics. So in a journalist's day-to-day, on every aspect, whether it's reporters or producers, directors, you have to be mobile and you have to understand what's going on that day, and how you start your day may be completely different from how you finish it. You know that. Mm-hmm. And as breaking news situations develop, or this day, I may need to become an expert in an hour on tax abatement, or the next day I may need to become an expert on Senate bill, this. And then the next day I may be out covering sports. So it's really being a chameleon and being able to learn things quickly. And I think that really prepared me in a lot of ways for starting my own business. And then there's a lot to learn too, and now I do feel like I'm using all parts of my brain, whereas before it was everything focused on my one job. Now I kind of have octopus arms, because as a small business owner, your HR, your hiring, your customer development, your project management, you're doing everything. And it's really exhilarating, exhausting, all the things.
Yes, it's exhausting. So we both know we're like, the worst part I think of for running a business for me is invoicing. I don't know why. I just hate doing it. Like the financial part of it. I'm like, no, somebody else can do that. I don't really want to do it.
And it's like, well, I'll do that later.
Yes.
When I have the time for it, and the time, when does that ever happen?
Well, and especially when you're like in a creative space, right? Like when you're working in a creative space, stuff like that is like, I don't know. I just wasn't naturally good at it.
Well, I think we're probably the same in the sense that we're words people, not numbers people.
Yes.
And I know numbers people, and numbers, they look at the world through a numbers lens, and I can't relate.
Yeah.
They enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if those are the same people that enjoy folding laundry.
I'd rather fold laundry than do a lot of other things. But yeah. So tell me like some of the personal experiences that you have had in your life that have brought you to like where you are. I think you do so much in the community. You have so many passion projects. Tell us a little bit about your background.
That's a whole thing, and something even when hiring, right? People's personal experiences bring them to where they are in a professional environment, and you just can't divorce that. When people say, oh, it's not personal, it's business. No, especially if you own your own business, everything is personal because I'm bringing my leadership styles, I'm bringing my childhood, I'm bringing everything to this point. So young Christine, like 5 to 10 years old, I told everyone I was going to play in the NFL. That was what I thought I was going to do. I loved sports, and my dad could have easily or even lovingly burst my bubble in any number of ways. He could have been like, oh, well, take a look. Do you see any girls on the field? He never did that. So he took me out to the park and we started running plays. He taught me how to draw the defense offsides. He taught me how to keep my feet in bounds. And I wanted to be a wide receiver. And we worked on it. And he would have me do kickoff returns. And then when my brother came along, he kind of joined us and he became my quarterback. So then he'd throw me plays and we'd just run those plays. My dad never explicitly said, believe in yourself or you can do anything you put your mind to. But those experiences taught me that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it until many, many years later.
Right.
Right. Because I was just a kid.
Yeah.
Playing a sport I loved. So obviously I did not go on to become
I think it's okay.
become a professional football player. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, the station here laid off a number of women. I was one of them. And it's times like that when you're forced into uncertainty, and everyone was uncertain during the pandemic. And more women were laid off. Nearly 5 million women were laid off during the pandemic, more than men. And so in those spaces, it was kind of like, oh, I've been prepared for this. I know how to run plays. I know how to bet on myself. And those are things that with time and space, you can look back and say, that was a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, that was a lesson I learned. And so my dad and my brother have since passed away, unfortunately, but they are just such a huge part of who I am.
Yeah.
And who I've become.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Tell us more about that, because I feel like I went into, I frequently mention my dad on the podcast, and Megan has said before, I wish I would have known him because, it's like the sense of humor, like it's your starting point, truly. So tell us about like how your family life and how your dad and your brother and your relationships with them have shaped your life.
Yeah, I think really growing up in that space where, again, my dad didn't tell me, be confident, but in those places where, oh, you want to be a football player? Cool, let's practice. That just instilled a level of confidence in me that I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's something I've carried. And I went on and I played volleyball for many years, and I've always been team oriented in that way. So I think there are so many things as young people we can learn and we carry through our career. Again, I didn't go on to play professional sports, but the things I learned from working with my dad and my brother, then playing volleyball for many, many years, working in team sports, learning how to interact with others, learning how to go after what you want, learning to be assertive. Things like that carry over into workplaces.
Yeah.
And they go on to manifest in different ways. And sometimes it takes that time and space to be able to look back and say, oh, this is a lesson I learned, or this is something that I took away from that. And honestly, even in their deaths, my brother died in a car crash, and then my dad died of a massive heart attack 9 months later. So I lost them both in a short period of time. And that was really dark.
Yeah.
It's a dark place. I still have trouble talking about it. But even through that, how you react to things, I think with the help of a therapist, grief counselor, I was able to tap into a different version of myself.
Yeah.
I was able to unlock someone who was more empathetic, more willing to take risks, a better storyteller, and so throughout my career, even now, when I have those difficult conversations with people, and if I'm interviewing them as a journalist, I was able to tap into something, kind of a shared humanity.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I think it came out in my work.
Yeah.
So
I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah, it definitely did, I think, and it still does. I think you're able to unearth new places within you and make deeper connections with people through those moments. And when trauma is that, in short of a time period, it comes through every day in the way that you live and in the reminders that you have of how you want to live, right?
absolutely. And on conversely, how I don't want to.
Right.
I think I'm better at setting boundaries, better at identifying what my purpose, my peace, is, and being able to say that doesn't serve me. And especially as women, we can struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. Well, I think leaning into that confidence and knowing this is who I am, this is what I stand for, in starting the business, instilling values in the business, these are some of the things that are non-negotiables. We have a very strong no asshole policy.
Yeah.
And that is for employees and clients. I'm not going to deal with clients who treat any of my employees poorly because I value them. And I value content creators and I value what they bring to the table. And as an employer, I'm not going to put up with that. And same thing for employees. I value the culture we're creating. I value the relationships we build. And that's a non-negotiable.
I love that.
Yeah. Christine was always the person in the newsroom after the news meeting where if the group settled on a story that just wasn't real strong, she would be like, no, I'm not happy with this. Like, right. And I think it comes through in all the things that you do. Like you use the judgment that you have to make serious decisions about what's right for like the overall big picture and not just, what's going to make someone happy in that moment or make a viewer happy in that moment or whatever it is. So,
well, and I think I'm a big why behind the what too.
Yeah.
And I tried to do that at the station, even in constructive feedback or constructive criticism. Hey, we can do this differently, but not just because my ideas are better than anyone's, because they're not. But here's my thought process and here's the why behind it.
Yeah.
And as a business leader and an entrepreneur with my team, with clients, with new clients, this is how we work. This is our process. If I'm guiding you on developing your brand strategy and your business story, here's the why behind it. I'm not just going to tell you what to do. If I'm coaching someone, preparing them for a media interview, I don't just tell you what to say and have you parrot it back.
Sure.
And I want to grow and teach and empower and lift each other up and be open to changing my mind. I think that's something right now too. We're just so, as a culture, as a society, it's like, here's what I think and that's it. And you can't tell me nothing, you know, whereas I'm open to having my mind change. I'm open to learning. I have mentors who are older and younger because I think young people can bring so much insight and a different perspective. And I want to learn from everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's what I meant is that you are more focused on teaching than just doing something super topical. Like when we were covering things in the news that were just light and fluffy and didn't make a difference, that were really just not worthy of being news pieces. Christine would be the person to be like, is this what we want to do? And I think that that's why I got out of journalism. And I think so many people are jumping off this burning boat because it's a tradition that is no longer serving itself.
Well, and institutions that are so rooted in how it's always been done are often the last to move and change when they should be the first. And it's sad. I still love journalism and I love journalists. But when institutions can't support true journalism because you're chasing a quick transactional sales dollar or you're just trying to do more with less, you're paying someone who has no experience to come in and just put something on the air because we have this news hole to fill and it doesn't matter
to fill.
It doesn't matter what we're putting on the air, just put something to fill it. Then it makes me sad. It makes me sad because we're moving away from things that matter and the public service aspect, because I fundamentally believe that journalists are public servants. And we tell stories that are powerful. And if you look through history, telling society, holding a mirror to society, telling people what's going on, whether it's in your neighborhood, in your community, in your city, state, country, or around the world, it has the power to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And we can cut this if you want, but I feel like a lot of the news has become about getting eyeballs. And from someone who comes from a marketing background, I understand how that all works and trying to to kind of convey to people I don't want to call it manipulation, but like they're going to tell the story that's going to capture the most eyeballs. And so you want to be conscious of what you're listening to. And I just think that it's not always about facts. And that's, I think that's where it gets to be interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah. I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when you're fighting for a shrinking piece of a dying pie, I mean, because if you look at the research and all of the options that people have to access information, to curate their own information that supports their belief system, which that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So how am I going to lure people away? By going after the low-hanging fruit, by going after sensational things or clickbaity things or things that even if it doesn't drive conversation, but it drives engagement, even if people are hate engaging on social media, at least I can show my analytics that my engagement rates are up. And that's just a cheap way to try to, again, take those numbers to justify your product in order to make ad revenue.
Yeah. It's the trickiest part of that business, though, I think. So what are some of the principles that you teach now in your coaching system that doesn't betray journalism, but also teaches people how to do public relations?
Tapping into your most authentic self and your story, because everyone has a story to tell, and that story is valuable. How you ended up in Vegas is a story to tell, and why you're here and what drives you. And just like we've talked about today, what aspects of your personal life make you you? Why do you make the decisions you make? Why do you partner with those who you do? Why do you sell homes? Why do you own a restaurant? Whatever it may be, there's a deeply personal aspect in there and a story that others can relate to. And you never know who needs to be inspired, who needs to be empowered, who needs to learn something, who needs to dispel biases. And your story can reach people where they are, and you just never know what aspect of that story can resonate with someone else.
I think it's always a surprise when you share something and someone's like, yeah, I can relate to that. And like, there's this, I think the more vulnerable you are with people and the more open and honest you are, I see those connections made. And I always try to push people to be open and honest, because I think it brings people together.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
One of our whys is because we like to eat. So Christine's husband is in the restaurant business. Okay. So I know you're a foodie too. So tell us a little bit about living in Las Vegas. And I think the other, part of the story is that probably you didn't want to leave Vegas, right? Like after leaving news?
No, I love this city. And there's something so exciting about growing with an organization, a city, and I very much feel that with Las Vegas, because things continue to evolve and change, and people who have been here 20 years, 30 years say that, I remember when this happened, and then I remember when the MGM moved to its current location. And that's one of the things, the evolution of Las Vegas carries this community with it in whichever way it goes. So I think it's a really exciting time to be here as we welcome a more diversified economy, as we welcome more residents, as we welcome luxury home building. And there are so many things in this city to be excited about. And restaurants too.
Yeah.
I love it here.
So where are some of the places that you recommend when people come to town for them to visit and eat?
I love Las Vegas's Chinatown.
Yeah.
I love it. And there are so many options there that you can keep trying. And I haven't had half of them, but Xiaolong dumpling is one of my favorites. Everyone on the Strip talks about Din Tai Fung, which is great, but that's my favorite dumpling place in Spring Mountain, Xiaolong. Cool. And it's great. And it's a great sampling of small businesses and locally owned businesses in our community there that really specialize in their own flavor. I have a favorite Szechuan restaurant in Chinatown, Chengdu Taste, and it's phenomenal.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I know.
I've even just been recently discovering like Shanghai Plaza. There's actually a Paletta ice cream place in there, and I was in there, and there's so many shops and stores, and I've been going to Chinatown for years, and there's stuff that used to be there that isn't, but like it's such a treasure trove of things, new ramen places popping up. Like I think that's one of my favorite things about is just the variety of, especially the Asian fusion and Asian food that we have here. I love that you mentioned Chinatown.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. I like that it's a new answer too.
Yeah.
And I feel like nobody's given us the same answers. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's there. Or, oh yeah, I forgot about this. But new places that I've never heard of like that are ones that I want to put on my list.
I'm gonna write those down.
Yeah. Tell us what you're doing on a Sunday. The weather's perfect. You're both off work. Do you work on the weekends, by the way? Yeah.
I mean, I own my own business. Any business owner, they're always working on the weekends. Yeah. But it's also so freeing to be able to create your own schedule.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse where you can take Friday off and then you're working Sunday to make up for it. Or it's you just kind of make your own schedule, where for years and years, almost 20 years, and Nikki knows this, as a grown adult, if I had to pee during stretches of my day, hours of my day, I had 90 seconds and would run down a hall to use the restroom. You know, now it's like, look at that, very low bar.
Yeah.
I can go to the bathroom when I want to. You know, it's a low bar, but it's so funny coming from that world where that just wasn't my world for 20 years. I couldn't just up and go to the bathroom when I wanted to.
So you would have an earpiece in, I would have a headset on. And so the amount of times that I would hear, not necessarily you, but like, I think especially my weathermen, like peeing. They have so many hits too. And it's like up and down. And so sometimes they just would forget to turn off their mic and I'd be like, oh, so-and-so's in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's just the world. And people think it's silly, but I mean, that was just the workplace. That's just how it works.
Well, and that's how we became family too. I feel like when you're like, again, the shared humanity of that situation, when you're just like, I know what it's like to run and gun somewhere. I know what it's like to be stuck in a chair on breaking news for hours upon hours and have no, time and no air to even breathe, to take a break to eat or to go to the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. Those are some of my favorite stories, is just like understanding like the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that people don't know.
Yeah.
Like those are my favorite things to hear about, like different industries. Like what are the things that people don't know, you know? I love that. That's funny.
Well, and I think that that's what journalists, like, I think it was Jane Pauley or one of the, like bigger journalists who said they know a little bit about a lot.
Yep.
And I think that that's what, is amazing about so many of my friends, including you. And I feel like maybe me, where I know like a little bit about a decent amount of things.
For sure you.
Because you get exposed to a ton of stuff. Okay, so let's play a little game. Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Okay.
Las Vegas edition. Excalibur.
Oh, you give me the...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the hard ones. Excalibur, Luxor, Circus.
Ooh. Jeez. Sorry, MGM Resorts International for that reaction. They're a client. I love you. All right. I'm killing Circus.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
I guess I'll kiss Excalibur and marry Luxor.
Ooh, okay. Any
My
specific
girl.
reason, memories, significance?
I think, I just, because they got the knights on. I've never been to that show, at Excalibur. So, there's a.
You have been to that show if you've been to a Knights hockey game.
Yeah, right. And then Luxor, just, they've got the light shining at night. It's such an iconic image.
Yeah.
That we'll marry that one.
Okay, very good. I like it.
So finally somebody picked Luxor.
Yes.
That's the one I would marry.
Yeah, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
What do people usually...
Well, I think it's been based off of like what personal stories people have that are connected to those properties. But I have significant memories at Circus. I don't know if I'd kill it. I don't know. I do. I mean, I would be sad if the Luxor came down. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Like that's just a part of our skyline.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it, no, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what you're excited for coming to Las Vegas. You know a lot of things.
The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's something, I told you I wanted to be an NFL player my whole life. So last fall, I signed a 3-year contract with the NFL to do video production. So that was kind of a cool full circle moment.
Yeah.
And then separately, we work with the NFL to produce videos for them. We also work with Allegiant Stadium as a separate client, the Raiders as a separate client, and we're chosen by the Super Bowl host committee as well. So we kind of have this Storyville sports section going on here. So yeah, the Super Bowl is really exciting.
And you have also worked with basketball too, right? Weren't you just in California with the Golden State Warriors?
Yes. I teach a class actually.
Okay.
So the Golden State Warriors, they won an award from the NBA based on this program that's called the Franchise Fund. And so the Golden State Warriors and United Airlines partner up to offer classes to small business owners. And the different classes are just to help small businesses with finance, marketing, all of these things. And so I teach one of those classes through the Golden State Warriors program.
That's so cool.
Yeah, very exciting. I love seeing you out there.
What a full circle moment to have your experiences as a child, and then to be doing that here, especially in how important that is to Vegas. I lived here in the many years where we didn't have any sports teams, and it was always we're never going to get a sports team because of gaming and the conflict. And so it's been so exciting for me to see different things coming here. But I love that for you, that you had that moment as a child, and then you're getting to live that now.
It's
cool.
An exciting journey. It really is. And to be able to see even the Raiders this year, for the first time, they formed internally an Asian American association within their team, because we have such a vibrant Asian American population here in Las Vegas, and diversifying our community and finding different pockets. Asian Americans in sports, it's not something in football. It's not something you typically associate with it. And women in sports, and there are amazing women leaders who are the head of the Super Bowl host committee. Sandra Douglas Morgan, of course, the general manager of the Raiders, and the head of HR and community relations for Allegiant Stadium are amazing women. And we're really seeing a lot of women stepping up here, the ACEs and their leadership team, doing incredible things in non-traditional areas in this city. It's exciting to be a part of, and even just to watch and be a resident of this city.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the things when we went to the hockey game a couple of weeks ago, we said we need to get into the WNBA games.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Aces fan. And they're so much fun to watch. And I think it's just, even as a community, for our young girls and boys to see excellence at the highest level, and to be able to see these professional athletes who are women and men.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you. We covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we did. Anything else you want people to know about Storyville Road and some of the services that you offer?
Full service video production. We are also getting ready. We haven't announced it yet, so this is the first time we're announcing it. We're coming out with a subscription service that is particularly for small and mid-sized businesses or independent contractors and things like that, because so often big video production, it's expensive and it's not cost effective for people to have recurring content created. So we're creating a lower tiered, a more cost effective option where you can subscribe to Storyville Road, have the power of Storyville Road and that level of video content and editing at a more affordable rate.
I think there's such a need for that.
We need it.
I know.
We'll hit you up. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you.